A Lament by Percy Bysshe Shelley. O world, O life, O time, on whose last steps I climb, trembling at that where I had stood before, when will return the glory of your prime? No more, oh nevermore. Out of the day and night, a joy has taken flight, fresh spring and summer and winter hoar. Move my faint heart with grief but with delight. No more, oh nevermore. A lament intrinsic elements. First theme, grieving over the past glory, disappointments and failures in life. Second, typography. This poem consisting of 2 stanzas of 5 lines in each, complete with melancholy words. The purpose is to make poem interesting, to share the point of this poem. Third, intention. Don't pull yourself away so that life feels hollow. Element intrinsic element number 4. Tone. The character of the writer is unhappy, deceiving, and worried about his life. 5. Taste. It is a poem of unadulterated sadness, which has a depressing effect upon the reader also. Number 6. Feeling. The poet feels that he is standing on the last steps of his life. He mourns that joys of life will not return to him anymore. 7. Enjambment. O world, O life, O time, on whose last steps I climb. Number 8. Concrete. Imagination is the point of the writing a poem, so the writer will visualize words that have meaning. Element intrinsic elements number 9. Verification. Out of the day and night, a joy has taken flight. Number 10. Figure of speech. Personification. A joy has taken flight and moved my faint heart with grief but with delight. Number 11. Imagery. Tactile, fresh spring and summer and winter hoar. Element extrinsic elements. First, biography. Percy Bysshe Shelley was born August 4, 1792, the first of 7 children born to Timothy Shelley, a country squire. Shelley attended St. House Academy from 1802, and then Eton, where he encountered the public school system of fagging. Shelley was expelled from University College, Oxford, in 1810 from refusing to acknowledge authorship of a pamphlet entitled The Necessity of Atheism. In 1813, he met his hero William Godwin, the author of Political Justice, and fell in love with his daughter Mary. Mary later wrote Frankenstein, The Last Man, 2 novels that remain popular and influential today. In 1818, the Shelleys left England for Italy, where their infant daughter Clara and their son William died, and where Percy Florence was born. Shelley gathered a circle of friends, including Byron, around him. Despite his radical views, Shelley was the peacemaker among them. Element extrinsic elements number 2. Poem value. The value of this poem is that life was tough, but you must be hopeful for a better future. Element extrinsic elements. Number 3. Point of view characteristic of Romanticism era. Shelley's lyrics reflect Romantic poetry's greatest achievement. Spontaneity is one of the Shelley's most striking characteristics, and its simplicity and elegance. The poetry of any other English writer are scarcely overshadowed. His texts are sheer pastorals. They seem without the least attempt to have been published. The force of feeling of the poet is the most expressive and sensitive of the era.
I Am by John Clare. I am yet what I'm known cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and vanish in oblivious hosts, like shadows in lost frenzies of throws, and yet I am and alive like vapor toss. Into the nothingness of scorn and noisy, into the living sea of waking dreams, where there is neither sense of life or joys, but the vast shipwreck of my life systems. Even the dearest that I love the best are strange, nay, rather strangers than the rest. I long for skins where men had never trod, a place where women never smile or wept. There to abide with my Creator God, and I sleep as I in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled, where I lie, the grass below above the vaulted sky. For the intrinsic elements, number one is theme. Sadness, disappointment, and loneliness are the major themes of this poem. And then the second is typography. There are 3 stanzas in this poem with each having 6 verses. And then third, rhyme scheme. The entire poem follows the ABAB rhyme scheme. 4. Tone. Depressed, shock, confused. And then 5. A representative of sorrow. This poem is an expression of sorrow as the speaker expresses the acute pain after being rejected by his friends. He is alive but no one cares about him. As he is abandoned by his friends, he has no one to share his pain and suffering with. He is gloomy and depressed because his best friends are no strangers to him. These horrific isolations make him think about life after he recalls having lots of people around. Indirectly, the poem talks about friends who are with us during the good time and leave otherwise. He longs for heaven to be with God to find eternal joy. 6. Figure of speech. First, metaphor. There is only one metaphor used in the second line of the second stanza. For example, into the living sea of waking dreams. Here the dreams are compared to the sea. And then the second, simile. For example, my friends forsake me like a memory lost. Here the friends are compared to the speaker's memory. And then 7, enchantment. There to abide with my Creator God, and asleep as I in childhood sweetly slept. And then 8, imagery. Like shadows in love's frenzies to truth, and sleep as I in childhood sweetly slept. And but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems. Extrinsic elements. First, biography. John Clare was born on July 13, 1793 in Helston, England. Raised on a farm by his father, who was a poor field laborer, and his mother, who was illiterate. The opportunity to read and write, as well as the passion for literature, was never fruitful in Clare's upbringing. He had married Martha, or Patty, Turner in 1820. He died on 20 May 1860 in his 71st years. His remains were returned to Helpstone for burial in St. Bolton's churchyard. And then second, early poems. Clare had bought a copy of Thomson's Seasons and began to write poems and sonnets. In an attempt to hold off his parents' eviction from their home, Clare offered these poems to a local bookseller named Edward Drury. Drury sent Clare's poetry to his cousin John Taylor of the publishing firm of Taylor and Hesse, who had published The Word of John Keats. Taylor published Clare's poems descriptive of rural life and chicanery in 1820. This book was highly prized, and in the next years, his Village Minstrel and other poems were published. And then the last one, 3 point of view characteristic in Romantic era. In this poem, a major assessment of John Clare's poetry and his position in the Romantic canon added to Clare's knowledge of the world of his Romantic contemporaries and near contemporaries. It puts forward the first extended series of comparison of Clare's poetry with texts we now think of as defining the period. It makes fully evident Clare's original contribution to aesthetic culture of the age by analyzing how he explored a wide range of concern and preoccupations which are central to, and especially privileged in Romantic period poetics, including fancy, the sublime childhood, train, joy, poesy, and love lyric marked by a peculiar self-consciousness about sensual expressions.
I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud is one of the most famous and best-loved poems written in the English language. It was composed by Romantic poet William Wordsworth. So, who was he? William Wordsworth is one of the most important English poets and a founder of the Romantic movement of English literature, a style of writing that focuses on emotion and imagination. He was often called a nature poet because of his emphasis on the connection between humans and the natural world. The background of the poem. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, also known as The Daffodils, is a lyric poem focusing on the poet's response to the beauty of nature. The final version of the poem was first published in Collected Poems in 1815, and the final version has 4 stanzas. The poem recaptures a moment on April 15, 1802, when Wordsworth and his sister Dorothy were walking near Lake Uswatun in Grasmere, Cumbria County, England, and came across a long belt of golden daffodils. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretch in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid sparkling waves in glee, A Paul could not but be gay in such a joking company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon in that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud analyzes. William Wordsworth, I wandered lonely as a cloud, epitomizes the romanticism that flourished in 19th century Europe. The lyric movingly exemplifies Wordsworth's abstract definition of poetry as emotion recollected in tranquility. Imagination is the key that unlocks the innermost depths of the human spirit, and imagination is best awakened by contemplation and celebration of the wonders of nature. The major theme of this poem is nature and human involvement in natural beauty. It also points to another theme, the impact of nature on a human. Rhyme and form of the poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud has a fairly simple form that fits its simple and folksy theme and language. It consists of 4 stanzas with 6 lines each, for a total of 24 lines. The rhyme scheme is AB, AB, CC, or rhyme stanzas in iambic tetrameter. The last 2 lines of each stanza rhyme like the end of a Shakespearean sonnet, so each stanza feels independent and self-sufficient. This is called a rhyming couplet. Literary devices. Literary devices are used to bring richness and clarity to the text. The writers use them to make their text appealing and meaningful. Wordsworth has also made the poem deeper and richer by using these devices. The first literary devices that found in this poem is simile. Simile is a device used to compare one object to another to help readers understand or to clarify the meanings using as or like. There are 2 similes used in this poem. In line 1, in the first stanza, I wandered lonely as a cloud. He compares his loneliness with a single cloud. And the second is used in the opening line on the second stanza, continuous as the stars that shine. Here, Wordsworth compares the endless row of daffodils with countless stars. And then personification. Personification is to attribute human characteristics to lifeless objects. The poet has personified daffodils in the third line of the poem, such as when all at once I saw a crowd. The crowd shows the number of daffodils. The second example of personification is used in the second stanza as tossing their heads and sprightly dance. It shows that the daffodils are humans that can dance. And the third example is in the third stanza, such as in a joking company. Here, he considered the daffodils as his buoyant company. The next literary device is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sounds in the same lines of poetry, such as in line 17, the use of G sound in I guess and guess, and in line 18, the use of W sound in what wealth the show to me had brought. And then assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same line, such as in line 9, is sound in they stretch in never ending, and in Line 11, the sound of A in 10,000 I saw at a glance. And then consonants. Consonants is the repetition of consonant sounds such as in line 18, the sound of T and what wealth the show to me had brought, and in line 20, and sound in vacant or in pensive. Metaphor. Wordsworth has used one metaphor in the poem in the last stanza as they flash upon that inward eye. Here, inward eye represents the sweet memory of daffodils. And the last is imagery. The use of imagery makes the reader visualize the writer's feelings and emotion. Wordsworth has used images appealing to the sense of sight, such as lonely as a cloud, a crowd, never-ending line, Milky Way, and jocund company. These descriptions help the reader to imagine or feel the same joy felt by the speaker. Characteristics of the Romantic literature shown in the poem. The Romantic poetry was based on the theme of rejecting city life and going back to the mother nature. The Romantic poets thought that they could sing more better than ordinary people did because they had deeper emotions. This was proven when the person said, 10,000 saw I at a glance. And the poets, the primary and the secondary imagination, which was fundamental in the Romantic poetry.